Hello, we hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the Wednesday Esports News Show. We hope you guys all enjoyed all of today's breaking news stories, and as always, let's get into it. And first off, in CSGO news out there, we had a lot of trades and transfers going on within the past 24 hours. The biggest, though, is actually just speculation for Virtus.pro's future roster. It does seem, according to sources out there, they're going to try to acquire actually Snatchy from Team AGO to actually replace Morels. If you guys remember, Morels was actually a stand-in player for the roster ever since Snacks left just last month. So it does seem, according to VP CEO as well, making several hints on Twitter, it's very possible that Snatchy from Team AGO, also a Polish team, could actually replace Morels on that Virtus.pro roster and become a full-time starter for the team. But also, in other big news out there is the future of Flipside Tactics, who seems, as of right now, to be dead in the water. They announced last week the removal of two of their players. That was actually World Edit alongside Lollipop. They were set to the transfer list to be traded away, and it does seem going forward, actually as of last week, it was going to be Blade, their former IGL, to step in as their coach, and he has now been traded away out of nowhere. Just 3 days after their announcement of a restructuring their roster, he is now on Gambit Gaming and going to be their coach. So to kind of give you a preface over there, it's going to be last week. He said he was going to be coaching for that Flipside roster, who was going to announce their full roster after the Major in September, and now seems he has betrayed them and gone to Gambit Gaming to join that roster as their coach, which is in huge news for Gambit Gaming. But the flip side of that coin as well, it's in terrible news for Flipside Tactics, as their post did clarify after the Major September, they're going to try and finish up that roster, which is left with just two people on it. That's actually Markolov and Waylander, and it does seem for the time being, this team, who were notoriously speaking out of the CIS scene, one of your more consistent major teams to make really good major appearances, at least on a consistent basis, is now dead in the water. But on top of that as well, we also have big announcements from Scream, as well as some big announcements in the French scene in general, and that being Scream, first of all, taking to Twitter to announce his small vacation. Now, it does kind of beg the question what his future might be. If you guys watched him with that team Left Out, the ex-MBS roster at the Face It Minor, they're not too bad. You know, of course, they have people like XMS, Haji, Sixer, alongside Kiyoshima to finish out that roster. Not the most powerful roster going into the minor, and they did quite well. Kiyoshima and Scream by far and away being those two best players, and certainly have a future in some roster out there. The big question now is, are any teams in the major going to take a risk on Scream? It does kind of beg the question. Other sources out there like Nell actually saying, would a roster like Cloud9, could they use a person like Scream? Of course, Cloud9 currently using two stand-in players, one being former Fnatic Golden, alongside that Sticko from Mouse Sports. It does seem like a very obvious risk that maybe a team like Cloud9 can make, but we'll see sometime in the future if they do actually make it. And just a quick reminder as well that roster lock does end on August 5th, so they have less than 2 weeks to actually make the decision, but it does make a lot of sense. Coming out of E-League Premier, if you guys have watched the last few days of events, it would make sense for a team like Cloud9 to maybe make the risk. As of right now, Scream has no buyout. He's looking to make a small vacation, though, if no teams do pick him up. Now, very lastly, out of the French scene as well, we do have the up-and-coming star known as Zyclopz, apparently fielding offers. After talking to him, I can confirm to all of you guys, it does seem his buyout is actually $100,000 from that AAA team. His buyout and contract actually does end in January, but it seems many teams actually have interest to buy him out before January does hit, so expect him to be signed by a team, as of confirmed by sources out there, probably in September or October. He should be signed to some team out there and bought out for $100,000, but that was it for today's CSGO news. And in Dota 2 news out there, we finally had the caster after 48 hours. That was actually Zyclopz respond on Reddit for his apology of the leak. If you guys were actually here a couple days ago on Monday's episode, it was Zyclopz, a decently well-known Dota 2 caster out there, who was given beta access to Artifact's new deck builder. And apparently he took to a TIE Facebook page, not only to post about this, but also reply to comments about the thing he was given beta access to. Obviously a pretty big breach of a non-disclosure agreement or contract, and that was a pretty big, he actually received a bit of a backlash from the community, but a lot of community response was actually kind of in awe about how cool the web deck builder actually looks. And on top of that, he took to Reddit today, though, to respond as an apology to everyone out there. Now, it does seem, as of right now, the only punishment he's been given is actually a revocation of his beta access to, of course, that deck builder. So it seems that Valve is not taking any further action against his non-disclosure breach. And alongside that, it does seem he could be casting events in the future, which a bit is a surprise. Of course, he took to that Facebook page, revealed very important information about the deck builder beta, but it seems as of right now, Valve has not responded in any brutal way, and he will be casting Dota 2 events hopefully sometime in the future. Now, on top of that, guys, lastly for Dota 2 news, we have big updates from the bot AI team over there, as they actually have continued to do matches. Now, if you guys are keeping track of the bot AI team over there, they played against the dev team a couple months ago. Earlier in the summer, they actually dominated that dev team over there, and they continue to get better and better. This time around, though, they actually played against some real pro players out there, or at least some top tier players out there in the Dota 2 scene. These were actually a team of 6.5K MMR players, and apparently, yes, very shocked shockingly enough, in this best of 4 series, it was a tie series. The bots actually lost 2 of the matches. The series was a 4-match series though, and actually the bot AI team came back to win match number 4. And just in case you guys were following that, if it was a best of 3 series, it would have been the bot AI team losing, but because it was 4 matches, who knows the exact details of this. If the bot AI team didn't want to admit defeat, so they went to a 4th match no matter what, but it was the humans coming away with 2 important victories. But unfortunately enough, the AI team took to Twitter to say they're already making changes and expect them to come back even stronger in September after the TI-18 does finish up. This bot AI team will face off against real pro teams out there, and will they win? I think the odds are in their favor. And also in huge Fortnite news, over the past week or so, we've had lots of drama in the Fortnite scene. Not so much drama this time around, but of course our latest patch was released with some huge updates coming to the game. So let's cover these very fastly. The first of which, of course, is a compact SMG or P90 being dropped in. And it does seem, as of right now, pretty obviously to be a very OP weapon, especially because with the latest patch notes, we saw a huge nerf to mats, especially to wood and brick, in terms of their starting health as well as their final health as well. A little bit of a buff coming to metal, but still one of the harder, I guess you could say, mats to actually resource out there, and expect some big build rushers to come in with this new meta if it does actually last. Of course, the past few months we've seen with this kind of backlash, big changes do come very shortly after, so maybe expect the next week or 2 weeks, maybe a potential P90 nerf, or maybe actually a buff again to building, because it does seem for right now, of this entire patch, we saw a huge nerf to builders out there, which saw some pretty big backlash. But also, another big updates out there, we did have, of course, the collision glitch. If you guys remember this, a lot of people were shooting at invisible walls, trying to kill the enemies, and actually hitting invisible objects or walls out there. It does seem the glitch has been fixed. It was actually a result of many multiple map markers being placed throughout the map, and that's what actually was blocking your shot. So apparently that's been fixed. And alongside that, also in huge updates, ghost peeking, or actually crouch peeking, has been fixed alongside that. Kind of a huge issue out there. People were crouch peeking and ghost peeking because of the angle. You never could really see who was shooting at you, and apparently Epic has gone ahead and fixed that. So that was actually in very big news. We do have a huge buff coming to Slurp Juice as well. Now kind of a new thing for it as well. If you guys are full health when you drink a Slurp Juice, and now actually adds to your shield. So that's very cool. And alongside that, we also saw some huge supply drop buffs. There's actually now more rifles and more C4, less traps, less nades, and less pots. So really kind of a really cool thing to actually go after the supply drops from now on. And alongside that, in big news as well, you can now bind your shift key, which was formerly your sprint key, to be walk, and the default option can now be turned on to sprint. So for all of you guys who love to run around in the game, which I think is a lot of us, and you kind of get sick of pressing down your sprint key, you can now bind that key to walk and actually have your default character mode to actually be sprinting. So that was in big news and some great updates out there, but also some big backlash to some big nerfs, obviously, to building. So what do you guys think about the latest patch notes? Will we see changes next week or in the couple weeks coming? I think we probably will. And huge changes also coming for the League of Legends scene, especially for all you Echo Fox fans out there. They made drastic changes and some kind of controversy as well within 24 hours of the LCS trade deadline. So all the players they did remove, that being Phoenix, Alltech, alongside Adrian. Yes, they removed 3 players all within just 24 hours of the trade line, which seems to be getting a bit of backlash out there as well. I'm pretty sure contract-wise, we can assume these players will be paid out the rest of the split because they probably cannot find teams. If not, that's pretty bad end on Echo Fox to remove those 3 players so close to the trade deadline. Obviously probably not going to be picked up that close to the deadline to finish off this split. So again, that will be Phoenix, Alltech, and Adrian all gone. Apparently, as of right now, rumors do say, at least for Alltech, it was salary based. His salary was way too high. They had to get rid of him, but they also made some big changes to their main roster, and that will be the first of which, with the cheesy video on screen, they actually have welcomed Cloud9 member Smoothie. I'm not really sure whether to classify Smoothie as a Cloud9 Academy member or a main roster member. He actually spent a lot of this split so far on the Academy team, but also one of their better members on the team as well. So it's going to be cool to see how he fits in with the Echo Fox roster. And alongside that, Echo Fox also bringing up a couple Academy members themselves, that being Demonte alongside Lost, to join that new roster, and some big changes coming from them. Although not doing too poorly, especially currently in the LCS standings, it's very weird to see them make such big changes so late in the split. We're going to see how this actually affects them in the future. But again, some big changes and more news coming hopefully by Friday's episode. Alongside that, though, to finish off things, we actually have Meteos, a great interview with Travis Gafford. I'll link his channel down below for all of you, coming forward and saying apparently he's currently 50-50 on whether he wants to play or just produce content for FlyQuest. Obviously, as of right now, probably no big chance to actually make that main roster to finish out the split. And of course, being on that Academy roster, it does seem he's pretty serious, especially coming off the analyst desk last week for LCS and doing a very good job there. It does seem he's now very serious for the future to only pursue making content, at least for the rest of the season or the rest of the split. So we're going to see in the future what he actually makes his decision to be made. And again, probably not a big chance chance he'll make that main roster. FlyQuest is definitely a heavy potential to make those playoffs as of right now, but some big changes coming soon in the League of Legends scene. And also, in short Overwatch news out there, we saw some brief patch updates, but one thing I want to cover as well, after weeks of waiting, we actually have Hammond or Wrecking Ball. I think the community still has to actually decide what we want to call the guy. I'm going to go with Hammond for now. Has finally been released into the game, so if you guys want to enjoy some gameplay, we actually got the chance to play him as well. So we're going to really cool to see in the future how he actually fits into this current meta, which is frequently changing, especially now with Overwatch League playoffs ending sometime soon this weekend. Going to be cool to see how he fits in to the future meta. Also, make sure you use your Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime as well to get your 2 free Hammond crates to unlock some very cool skins. And very lastly, in this episode of Esports News, we hope you guys all enjoy. We actually have huge announcements for Rocket League Championship Series. If you guys were here for Championship Series Season 5, it was actually a $250,000 prize pool. And this season actually new announced just last night, guys, with a $1 million prize pool. To actually understand how big that is for the Rocket League scene, of course, we had their 3rd annual birthday just a couple days ago. They were actually flexing about 46 million players, over 2.5 billion games played. The growing esport out there currently right now, Rocket League definitely on top there, and they have now announced a $1 million prize pool. It was back in Season 3 and 4, $150,000. Last season, Season 5 was $250,000, and now the huge jump to $1 million. I will link down below for all of you guys wanting to participate. Yes, you can. It's actually a community event. If you are good enough, you do have a chance to possibly qualify if you give it your all out there. I'll leave registration links down below for RLCS Season 6 out there. But yes, a $1 million prize pool. We'll be very curious to see in coming years, next season, the season afterwards, if they can actually keep up with that scaling. As always, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Esports News. We will see you all back here Friday. Leave a comment down below. Do we miss anything? Do we need to correct anything? And we hope you guys all enjoy, and see you back here Friday. And as always, see you then.